right.
Okay.
Thanks, Bill. And hi, everyone. I'm Paige Sapiga. I'm the Vice Chair of the Maynard Zoning Board of Appeals. The Chair, Paul Schneier, asked that I run this evening's meeting. It is 7:07, so I'll officially call this meeting of the Zoning Board to order. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 23rd, 2023 meeting. So I trust everyone's had a chance to review those. I just open it up to everyone to see if any of the board members have any comments or revisions on those minutes. And hearing none.
Leslie, on mute. I think Leslie was just saying
Oops,
something.
Thanks, John.
Oh, thanks. I didn't see anything that needed to be changed.
Great. I'll entertain a motion to approve if you want to make that motion.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the October 23rd meeting of the Maynard Zoning Board of Appeals.
Thanks, Leslie.
Second.
Uh,
Second.
That was John that seconded?
Yes. Yep.
Great. All right. And then because this is a remote meeting, we do need to have a roll call vote for everything. So just go down the list I have here, starting with Leslie.
Yes.
Yes. John,
Yes.
Paul,
Sure.
and I am also a yes. And I don't think Brad has joined yet, but let me just
It's
double
not,
check.
I'm keeping an eye on
Okay.
it. No.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Bill. If you don't mind letting me know
Sure.
when he
Oh, no.
jumps in.
Yep, I will let you know.
So I think that vote is approved. And I think we'll take this next agenda item also, and then
Yeah,
Just see if-
this was advertised. Sorry, it was advertised via mailing, but I believe the posting hadn't gone out. It wasn't. There was an advertising delay, and so it didn't make the statutory advertising deadlines. I would request that the board continue it to the next meeting. We do have Dominic McConchie. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, Dominic, who's the applicant. And I would just request that we continue it to the next meeting if that's the board's pleasure.
Do we have a date?
At the next
Yep.
meeting, will be December 18th, I think I said.
Yep, the 18th.
And the reason that's moved up is because of the holidays.
Yeah.
And Bill, do I need to read? I believe I still need to officially open it and read the hearing notice before we can continue it.
I think I think you can do it either way. To be safe, I would open it. You could read it, open it, and just request a continuance.
Request the continue.
So
Okay.
I have a technical question, Bill.
Okay, Paul.
Since we are just the 4 members on board tonight, and if we have an issue where we need to get one of the other members to vote on something next time for this, they would have to hear everything that we do tonight?
Yes, so we wouldn't want to do anything other than continue it. I mean, the reason we're not opening the hearing is because it was not advertised with sufficient lead time. So you bring a good point. My suggestion would be just continue it without opening it. And if you continue it to date certain, anybody who's here interested will know. And that would be, Paul makes a good point. Yeah.
All right, then I'd entertain a motion to continue this hearing to the next regularly scheduled meeting of the ZBA on December 18th at 7 p.m. If anyone wants to make that.
I make a motion to continue the hearing for the petition of Dominic McConaughey until the December 18th meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
And that will be on Zoom as well, everybody.
Second. John seconds.
John. And then this will also need to be a roll call vote. So Leslie,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paul,
Sure.
and I am also a yes. So that public hearing will take place over Zoom on December 18th at 7 p.m. for anyone who's interested in that one. And at
Okay, thank
this,
you. Brad has joined us.
oh, perfect. Just going to ask for an update. Great, then I think we
Good
can.
timing, Brad. You got,
Yeah.
can you hear us okay?
Brad, you're on mute.
Trying to get unmuted here.
Oh, there you are.
Here I am. Now let's see if I can do something else here. Hey,
Oh, there he is. All right.
sorry about that, folks.
That's all right. We got all the exciting stuff out of the way.
Oh, good.
Minutes.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect timing. So now that Brad's joined us, I think we could jump right into that last agenda item. It's the public hearing for the special permit application for 55 Glendale Street. So I'll now open the hearing and read the legal notice. So pursuant to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 40A, Section 5, the Maynard Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a remote public hearing on Zoom video on November 27th, 2023 at 7 p.m. to hear all persons interested in the application filed by John Mallon of 55 Glendale Street in Maynard, Massachusetts. The subject property, a single-family dwelling in the S2 zoning district, is a pre-existing non-conforming structure due to insufficient frontage, front setbacks, and lot area. Per sections 4.1 and 10.4 of the Maynard Protective Zoning Bylaw, the applicant requests special permit approval to maintain the existing non-conforming frontage and front setbacks and further exceed the 15% building coverage maximum in order to construct an addition to the residence. A copy of the application and associated materials are available on the town's website and may be requested from the Office of Municipal Services. All right, so now that that's been opened, is there anyone present on behalf of the applicant who wishes to present the application or explain the proposal tonight?
Mr. Mallon is here. I think Mrs. Mallon probably is as well. Let's see. Can you hear me, John?
I can hear.
Okay. All right. So just I'll give the board a little background because I know there was some questions about this. About 2 years ago, this property was brought before the board for a variance for constructing an addition to the property. The board did grant the variance. Town's recommendations, the plans were revised and downsized based on the idea of a variance, and consequently, as the board was aware, last year the Massachusetts courts made some changes regarding extensions of existing non-conforming structures falling under the purview of a special permit rather than a variance. There's a revised plan, which I think you have, or I can share with you online. And so in this case, the Mallons are requesting a revised plan from what was originally granted in the variance, never constructed. At that point, I think I would turn it over, unless there's any specific questions for me, before the applicant takes over the presentation. Does any of the board have a question? I can.
Is this the same property as if you were driving down Glendale Street from the center of town, it's on the left-hand side?
That's correct. At the dead end. Yep.
Okay, okay.
The other thing I'd point out to the board is, as Paul and I have been discussing, and this is a kind of an example again of one of our lots that it received a S2 zoning requiring 20,000 square feet of lot area, but the property itself has approximately 9,200 square feet. So we have this issue that we were talking about, creating potentially an overlay zoning district to address these sort of nonconformities that are coming up time and time again. But the subject properties less than 50% of what would be required for the district.
Mhm.
And the staff report, I think, outlines all that, but I'll let the applicant take over here.
Okay, this is kind of our third go around, and unfortunately, the last time we tried to go forward with the last approved variance is that we were doing a 2-story connecting to an 1880 house, Fieldstone. And a lot of contractors were busy, and just they gave us a high number that was unaffordable for us, as a family of 3 kids. And it was just, the construction was kind of challenging and difficult, and just everybody was busy as well. So it kind of slipped through the cracks after a while. And then now we're just kind of revisiting it again because our kids are getting bigger, and you could probably hear them in the background screaming. And but we need more space, and we're just trying to keep up to the other properties in the S2 area. Everybody seems to be right around 21, 23, 25, 28%. And they're non-conforming lots as well. But we're going to make the construction simple, basically a single story, 1 floor layout with a more living space and a bedroom. So right now, 2 kids share a bedroom, and eventually I'm sure that's going to get old pretty quick. So it's basically just trying to improve the functionality for the family and for our living as well.
Thanks,
I didn't know
John.
if anybody has any questions or.
Yeah, do any members of the board have questions they'd like to ask John? Or anything that requires clarification?
I'd like to see the design plan again.
Oh, you want me to pull them up, Leslie?
Yeah,
All right, hang on. If I I will try my best on this. I think I can do it. Let's see, share screen. And okay. Can you see the? Let's see.
Yep, we can see your screen.
Okay, let me. Let's see here. All right, I will. Let's see if I can turn this.
You'll see the proposed dwelling is going to be the living space and a single bedroom there, and then we're going to use that 1-story porch to make it a 4-season, and so we could walk out to this new structure. So it's not going to be attached to the 1880 house or roof lines connecting at all. So it's going to be pretty straightforward construction. It's just electric and probably 2 split minis for HVAC, and it should go up quick and fast, and it should be more economical because I have talked to other contractors and they're like, you keep it unattached to that house, the 1880 house, it'll work out well, and it'll be its own kind of like its entity. So it's not going into the Fieldstone, and it's kind of a nightmare when you trying to connect an existing foundation into a Fieldstone, because then you gotta tie it in, with rebar, and it's just, it could fall over. You might have to underpin things, and it could be a disaster.
Mm.
So this is kind of, I bounce this off other contractors, and they're like, this is your best case scenario, and keeping it 1-story, it's behind the house, and nobody's really gonna see it. So it's kind of tucked away, and it's gonna look just like our existing house. So it should look great. And
Yep.
and will definitely improve, the function of the family as well.
so that the proposed dwelling is going to be used.
Just a 1-story building, and it's gonna have, basically kind of split down the middle. One side is gonna be the the living space, and the other side's gonna be the bedroom.
Mhm.
And it's, again, it's just one story, so you're not really gonna see it from the streets. And behind the house, it's all conservation, so nobody's gonna see it from back, from that back end as well. And then, so it's our best case scenario, and it's going to be more economical than trying to mess around with the field stone and mess around with the 1880 roof tying into that, and it's old wood, and just kind of structurally better.
Have you, Miss, I have a couple of questions if I can ask, Madam Chair.
Sure.
First of all, I did meet with you, and the building commissioners a couple of months ago, I believe, about this. I don't recall the design, but the building commissioner is aware that this is a separate, this is not joined, correct? Has this been by the building commissioner is my question.
I mean, just only that one meeting that we had talked about. I mean, I believe he knows, he's aware of this plan and what our intent is to do. Yeah.
Okay, I just couldn't recall that. The second
Yeah.
thing, I wanted to confirm that there's not going to be a separate kitchen or anything in this dwelling. It's
Nope.
strictly going to be,
Just living space as far as like another family room and then a bedroom.
thank you,
So each kid could have their own bedroom.
thank you.
Do any other members have questions, John or
Yeah,
Paul?
I have a
Brad?
question. Sure.
Go ahead.
So you're gonna increase this, you're going to go from a 3-bedroom to a 4-bedroom.
That's correct. That's correct. Yep.
Okay, and you're saying it's not gonna be attached to the house?
Well, I mean, that one story, which is kind of a porch, so that's going to get built out. But then that proposed dwelling, the new living space, it's going to have its own foundation, four walls, and it's not going to be connected to the foundation of the existing dwelling. So it's structurally it's going to be its own entity. There's not going to be any kind of deficiencies when it's tied into a field stone foundation, and that's rather challenging to do. It's going to have its own roof. It's only 1 story, so we're not going 2 stories. It's just 1.
So what's the dimensions of this? All I see is a square footage. I don't
26 by 28.
26 feet.
And you're accessing it, like you'll have like a little hallway to,
Yeah, that 1 story is going to be like you see that 1 story existing, that's going to be a breezeway. You walk through. It's kind of like, as if you, like a single dwelling that has a house, a breezeway, and then a garage. It's kind of that setup.
Hmm.
So that 1 story is going to be a breezeway where you walk through and you take 2 steps down and you're into that proposed dwelling. And it's going to have its own, it's only electric, and it's going to probably have 2 split minis in there.
And where are you gonna have the second egress out of that?
What's that?
You're gonna have to have a second egress. The fire department, the building inspector is gonna require that.
Oh yeah, that's going to be over towards the shed side. So you'll see that porch, 1 story. You step down 2 steps, and then you take a left, and that's going to be that's going to be the doorway.
Okay, so there's just 1 door going into that.
Yep. If I have to put 2, I'll put 2. But
Okay.
it's gonna be, I mean, it will be attached to the existing through that 1 story breezeway.
So because it's attached, I guess at that point, it does not become an accessory dwelling unit. Another whole thing, just putting up another building in your property, you can't really do that without running into that. So I guess if it's attached, it would.
Yeah.
Like-
that was my only question. That's why I asked that, Brad. My suggestion, I have a suggestion to address that if the board, to
Sure.
get further in the, conversation with the board, like,
Right.
that was my concern.
Yeah, I just don't see how you can take a one-story building that's is a 26 by 28 shape like that and try to get it to match the house that's there. It seems to me that this is going to look very different.
I it's going to be as if you were looking at a colonial house and then having a breezeway going into a garage, and they all look the same, and they're I could show you, I can take pictures and show
Yes.
you many of those types of houses in Acton right down the street. So it's going to look the same after this is all said and done. I mean, I have an architect designer that's going to put this together. So I kind of bounce this off everybody. So that one story is going to be gutted out. It's going to have that one. Well, you'll see where the porch is. That's going to be the breezeway, basically, right there. I wish I had a pointer to show you, but so
Yeah, you're talking.
so
this
that one
area.
story,
Right here.
if you draw a line,
Yeah.
a horizontal line all the way across where it says porch at the bottom,
Mhm.
right, no, right there.
Here.
No, just draw that right across.
I don't know if I can do that, but. Yeah,
Well, not
I'm-
redraw, but just kind of show it, just kind of like demonstrate going across.
Yeah. Wait, I can do it.
That right there is the porch. That's going to be turned into like, that's going to be the connection to this building. That one story is already in place. That 156. The porch itself is going to be the access going into the new building.
So I think the confusion came, John, a little bit. I'm not sure if I'm speaking out of turn with the board or not with this. I think my understanding and the way it appears now, I thought that they are joined via breezeway. However, that you're saying they had different foundations.
Right.
Right. That was the confusion. And
Yeah.
what I would say to the board,
So that porch right there is
Uh-huh.
only 4 feet long. I mean, 4 feet in width, and it's 15 feet long. That's where
Right.
it says porch. So that is going to be the connection point right there, and basically I can put precast concrete vertical structures in there to support basically that little section of the porch. I'm going to keep the roof because it's a really good roof, and it's going to connect, and then you connect to that. Again, I bounced this off so many people. I mean, if I take a picture of the house, it might make more sense than looking this, 3-dimensional compared to 2-dimensional.
Yeah, I can bring up a picture of the house if the board would like that. Might take me a minute, but
I think that would be helpful, Bill.
All right. yeah. Okay.
Particularly since we need to consider the neighborhood character as one of the criteria later.
Sure. Just give me a minute. Maybe you can talk amongst yourself with some other questions and I'll get the.
Did any of the board members have any other questions or clarifications they wanted to ask while Bill pulls that up? John
I
or
have a question,
Paul?
Paige, if I could.
Please, yeah, go right ahead.
What I'm understanding this breezeway connection, and you're gonna be putting the kids out in that back building, it would be an awesome idea, and I should have done it when I was with kids, so you can lock them out of the house and put them in that other building.
Yeah.
Is that the goal, that they have to go out in the cold
think-
winter in the breezeway to go to bed?
No, I mean, that breezeway is going to be built out to, I mean, I'm probably using a really bad term, breezeway. I should say the porch is going to be, it's going to be demolished and built so that it can be a four season, access to this new structure. So it's probably poor terms on my part saying that. Maybe I'm just old fashioned, I don't know, but
Are you saying that you're building a 15-foot long hallway between the two buildings?
it's basically, it will be a hallway, but yeah, it will be, most of it will be for storage because we don't have a lot. So it will be more for like a pantry and stuff like that.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna have like a 5-foot wide access going into it.
And no plumbing in there? Just,
No,
just
no.
the mini splits?
Yep, just the mini splits and its own electric. So I'll probably bring a panel up close to it and then have it done that way. So just so I can have the smokes and the electric as well.
Okay, let's see if we can get this going. I can't get my little guy to jump off here. Let's see. Give me 1 second.
I mean, I can go out back and take a picture if you want.
Oh, yeah, I think
Then I can text it to Bill
It's-
and relay it around.
In the dark.
Here, let me just see if
But it's a straight up colonial, in the back, it's a 1-story that has a hallway and a bathroom and a laundry room. And then in front of that, you have a 4-foot by 15-foot kind of porch. And half of that was the old ice coop that they used to have back in 1880. That's where they had their ice and they put their meats and stuff like that. So basically having an 1880 house has a lot of disadvantages. It has no storage because nobody owned anything back then.
Can you guys see it now?
Mhm.
Yeah, you see that roof line in the back? That small, that's the 1-story right there. Half of that is already
Yeah.
connected to the house because there's a little jog out right there with the fieldstone. And then I'm connecting basically to that porch, and I'm keeping the roof because I don't want to mess around with the roof because then I'm messing around with the 1880 wood.
This is what you're talking about here.
No,
No.
the
Okay.
other side to the right.
All right. Let's see here.
Is it? Wait a second. Oh no, you're right. I'm sorry.
Right.
No, you're correct. Sorry.
All right. Now, for some reason, I can't get the little guy to.
So basically, if you look, if you look to the left, you see that house right there.
Yeah,
They
the one
have
with the
an
solar
addition.
panels?
Yeah, they have that's their new addition from like the early 2000s. It's gonna be like that, but the only thing is that I'm not connecting into the house. I'm not connecting that roof line into the existing roof. And their house is newer. I think it was built in 1968 or 1970.
Hmm. Is that the one that's like a garrison style?
Yeah, that's where Wesley used to live. The selectman.
I don't know.
Yeah.
So where's the garage? In this picture.
What's that?
It says that you have a garage on your property.
Yeah, you look
And
to the right,
where's-
there's a barn. It's the
Um,
old barn, and then right where the arrow is, that's the other garage right there.
Right here.
Yeah. You take that little arrow, you just go south. That's the garage. And you
That's
go over
okay.
to the right, you'll see the little barn there.
This is the barn.
Yeah.
yeah. Right there.
So I'm just kind of like,
So
I'm
the
just looking to
garage
put a
doesn't
little-
have the garage doesn't have a driveway going to it. Is that correct?
no, that's that is, you can't fit a car in there.
Okay, so it's not really a garage.
No,
It's just got a
not.
garage door to it on it.
That's yeah, it's like a barn door, it swings open.
Okay.
I mean, to go back again, that's where they parked their Model T car back in the day. There's a lot of history in the house, so that's probably why I'm still there.
So you park out front?
No, I parked to the left of the house. You'll see that driveway there.
Yeah. Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
existing. I didn't pave it or anything.
Yeah.
So again, you can see it would be very easy construction. And I'm not just I'm not winging it. I have some people I'm talking to. And then when everything's all said and done, then I'm going to have an architect designer put together plans for this. And then I'll get some bids.
It's too bad we don't have some sort of drawings of it.
Yeah, again, that's, you
Most
have
applicants
you have drawings
submit
from the other
something.
stuff, and
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money. I just kind of figured this wouldn't be as difficult. I mean, the house, the addition is going to look just like the house.
Bill, to that point, Brad, I was wondering the same thing, how we could weigh in on neighborhood character. And trying to recall other situations where we may not have had elevation drawings or something showing what it would look like.
Yeah,
Do you have a
that's-
way to address the creative way to perhaps address that, or is there a
Yeah,
condition?
well, ideally, ideally you'd have the elevations because of the neighborhood character situation. On the other hand, I can appreciate what the applicant's saying. Perhaps a way to do this would be to give if it was the board's inclination to go forward with this, they could set conditions and authorize what the increase in square footage, say up to whatever it is, 14% or whatever the number was, subject to approval of elevations being presented prior to pulling of building permits. And with the applicant understanding that if the board determined that what the applicant was proposing was not in character, it may require a revision. That is the best way I could think of to move it along, give the applicant the security they need to go ahead and get the bids and so on, give the board the security they need to ensure community character, and then maintain the applicant's goodwill with the board. If that was, I don't know if that would be acceptable to the board or to the applicant, but that would be my suggestion. I also have several other conditions that I would add, but I think that would check all the boxes.
The house next door isn't in keeping with the neighborhood.
Which one?
Isn't the house next door like a yellowish Garrison style?
The house, across the street?
Oh, maybe it's across.
Yeah,
the-
that's a modified cape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, people have
No.
already blown the mill character of the neighborhood. Your house is like
Yeah,
a,
I mean, it's really not going to, it's not gonna be anything weird we're gonna put up. It's gonna be consistent. It's in the backyard. It's going to have a pitched roof. And it's going to it's gonna blend in with the house. I mean, my wife wouldn't have anything different, trust me.
What's the size of the existing house? What the foundation on the existing house?
Oh boy, I think it's probably maybe 32 feet long, maybe. I could tell you.
All right, I gotta pull it up. I can pull it up here.
Ooh.
In the meantime,
I
Because
think
it seems like you're basically doubling the size of the house.
not really. I mean,
It looks like it from these drawings.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going for 26 by 28. But honestly, am I gonna be able to afford that? I don't know. I probably would say that it's gonna be 28 feet wide, definitely, because if I split that down the middle, it's gonna, and you have a wall in between, so you're looking at 14 feet and 13 feet, you know, as the width of two rooms, and then 26 feet long. I would probably say that I would probably need like maybe 22 feet. That's what I'm really looking at. But things pop up, and it was suggested, by the building commissioner to say, hey, you're meeting the setbacks and everything's all legit. But you maybe should ask for a little bit more just in case something pops up. So that's what I'm doing.
So, but the request currently we have is to right now the non-conforming was 15.5. So roughly approximately 24% coverage is what you're requesting still. That's the
Yeah, it's
okay.
yeah,
And
23.43.
did you understand? Did that make okay? Did that
I mean,
make sense?
honestly, I can go around the neighborhood and point out NES2 that are new construction up on Lewis Street, up on Concord Street, stuff up there. Theirs is a lot more. I mean, I can go on GIS and show that to you, what the calculations are.
Oh,
So
well,
I mean,
just-
I can show you that. I'm not outside the box when I'm asking. I'm actually kind of short.
but I don't want to take time from the board. My only question is, did it make sense to you what I said about if the board would you'd be willing to make the elevations, bring the elevations back if and understanding that that is part of the board's charge, would that proposal I made address your concerns, and would you be willing to do that as a condition?
I mean, I have to know what conditions you're talking about. If they're
No,
if
strictly
if there are
the
conditions
board-
that doesn't make it feasible, then I mean, I think
well, the
why
condition.
go
No,
forward then?
what I think what I was just trying to I was just trying to provide a solution. If the board is asking about how they could judge the community character, which is part of their purview, and
Right. Honestly, I think you still have the first set, and the second set of drawings that I have my architect designer put together. So if you look at that and just say, okay, just a one story, that's what it's going to look like. So, but yeah, I mean, sure. I mean,
they're going to have to do drawings.
so if I go through and start putting drawings together, and is it going to be kind of straightforward in a sense that you're going to say, hey, look at, I don't like this doorway here, or I don't like the number of windows you have. Is it going to be that stringent, or you just going to look at just say, okay, it has the same siding, it has a pitched roof, the connections make sense, and then you could come to the you could look from the front of the house towards the back, you're not going to see it. So it's not going to really drive anybody crazy, I don't think. Actually, it's going to look good. And again, I keep saying, like, my wife wants this to look good. It's going to.
Yeah.
So
I'll let the board answer. I'm not suggesting anything otherwise. I'm just trying.
No, I just know how, because honestly, I'm a civil engineer. I stamped those drawings, and I've been stuck in kind of a group think in the board situation where I am not a contractor. I'm just a homeowner. So you can like bury me financially redoing this, because they have an architect designer, they're not stamping it, but they are still expensive. and I have a family of 3.
So Paige, I have
I-
a question or two if I can.
Sure, please go right ahead.
As you guys recall, last year, we had a property like this that wanted to put in a large building. And that would change the lot coverage to be excessive for what the zone was. And we said, sure, as long as they don't extend the lot coverage percentage by taking out other buildings that they're not needing. And so the question is, would this property owner be willing to not go all the way to 23.5% coverage by taking out a couple of those excess buildings that he might not be needing?
No, I need those buildings, and actually they're all kind of built in 1880.
Yeah,
And they're kind of like, if you were to look at it, come down and take a look, you'll notice that, you know, there is some historical value to that.
yeah, so is my property. The
Okay,
other question,
I don't know what to say then. I
the other question I
mean, you
have,
can vote right now and just, we can, this has been an hour, so it's up to you guys.
the other question I
I'm
have
not,
is a clarification
my
point.
proposal is 23.43. Again, I could go around anywhere in the neighborhood, in the S2 zone. I can show you that other people recently, up towards Concord Street, you know, that area, they have exceeded, and they had a special permit.
I don't know the particulars on what you're referring to.
I know.
The other question I have is, you were talking about that large box that you're proposing. Is that the planned size or is that the ask size and you're gonna plan after you get the ask?
The 26 by 20 is what I'm asking. And then with the design architect, he'll probably shrink it down for me and make it more feasible for me to get a decent price and get this built.
So with that being the uncertainty, I don't know how we can go forward and give you a blank check.
Okay, and then I'll just,
I
you know,
mean,
I
Paige,
probably
I'm,
shot
maybe
myself
I'm
in the
speaking
foot.
out of turn, but I'm just sort of
Okay.
giving my thoughts, Paige.
I thank you, Paul. I mean, I think what I'm hearing is the board would appreciate the ability to review more information on this, potentially
I can-
elevations, but, oh,
I
sorry.
have
Bill.
the elevations from before, Madam Chair, if you'd like me to share them.
Sure, I think it'd be a helpful information point, but I would welcome comments from the board as to whether or not they feel that's sufficient in order to.
Oh, okay, yeah, I
That
just meant so
criteria.
that the applicant had an idea of what the board was requesting. What?
Yeah, please. Yeah, I think that could be helpful.
So I feel that we're being asked to completely ignore the fact that maximum coverage allowed in S2 is 5%. Is that right?
It's 15%.
15.
Why, I'm reading, the maximum building coverage allowed in the S2 zoning district is 5. That must be a typo then.
That's a typo. Yeah,
Yes.
apologies. That's a typo.
Okay, all right, there we go. So
Typo.
I thought that seemed awful small, but there it was in print.
Yeah.
The applicant requests to go from 15.5 to 23. So,
Almost 24.
yeah. Well, 23.5. So,
Would an elevation sketch similar to what the applicant provided? I think it should be on my screen share right now. Is it?
Yep.
Would that give the board the level of comfort to determine if it was compatible with the neighborhood? Something like that.
You know, I don't really think that that's a very good elevation picture, because as I recall, that property, the backyard drops off precipitously and it sloped away, and that looks like it's a flat.
Fair enough. I'm
Yeah.
saying like something, but this is what we typically get with a request. Something
Mhm.
Well,
along.
we've had lots of them where people have had hand drawings,
Yeah.
which gave us the sort of a good gist of what was going on. Or at least a better gist, better than not having, just having a square box with no dimensions on it other than an area. That's what we have.
So this will actually be, there's a step down too, right? So,
So you look at that 2-story there, you just eliminate the second story,
mhm.
and then you have the pitched roof, and it's just gonna be a little bit wider.
I'm interested to hear from the board, so I know we still need to open up to public comment too, but it sounds like that most of the comments have been about the neighborhood character and social structures
Far.
item we need to consider. Were there any other, do the board members have questions about any of the other items that we'll need to look at? Otherwise, maybe we can open it up to public comment and then hear from anyone else that may wish to speak before deliberating and digging into this a little more.
Paige, this is Paul again. I have one other thought from days gone by. And that is fire truck and personnel equipment access. And if you look at the way he's got that set up with the shed right next to his proposed dwelling, getting into the backyard to either deal with something on his property or the neighbor's property or the backyard property can become tedious if we don't know the distances that's between them and access routes along the side of the driveway and that other yard side.
Yeah,
So
Well, I mean,
that's just a thought to consider, Paige, as you go forward.
yeah, the setbacks of 15, I mean, on the side sets, so, I mean, they have access down the driveway, and they can actually go down the other side of the house if they had to. And I don't think they're really gonna drive a full engine all the way to the back. There's a fire hydrant within probably 80 feet of the house. They probably run hoses off that.
Yeah, and the challenge I've heard from my buddies in the fire service is dragging that hose and a ladder
Yeah.
and stuff long
Well, you know,
distances.
something, I can argue that with all the other neighbors too.
Yeah.
Their houses are set, I think it's a non-conforming
Yeah,
lot, so. And they kind of, they were able to get stuff passed as well, so. It doesn't
Well,
sound like you
again,
guys
I
like
don't know
this.
the
so,
circumstances of the other
well, let me
people.
just, can I ask you a question? Am I wasting my time going forward? Because I already dropped to like $1,200 on this.
John, I think a lot of these questions are coming up because they're just a lot of uncertainty regarding the information that was provided. It's a
Okay,
maximum square footage. So I think we're just trying to get a little more comfort with what's being proposed and ask some questions to get at some of these issues that we can't, where the information can't be pulled from plans. And that's probably what you're hearing.
Is,
Oh, please, was that you, Leslie?
yeah, is the land that the proposed dwelling is going on, is that just grass now, or are you gonna have to remove trees and other vegetation?
yeah, there's one old tree that we talked about last time that's gonna get taken down.
Mm-hmm.
And it's actually hauled through and it's eventually going to fall down. So I've been eventually trimming it down a little bit as it gets older.
Mm-hmm. And then otherwise,
Otherwise, it's all grass.
mm-hmm. Oh, and I think you told me you'd plant a new tree.
Yeah, I didn't take that one down yet. So when I do,
Yeah.
yes, I definitely want a new tree.
Yeah, so. Um. Okay.
Leslie, do you have any other questions or any other board members? Do you have any questions before we move on to the public comment?
No, well, no.
No.
John, no, I'm seeing your head shake, Brad, you said no. Okay, Paul, any other questions? I'm gonna take that silence as a no. All right, so now I think we'll open the public comment portion. Bill, can you remind me, do we need a motion to open public comment? Or
Yes,
can I just do?
you
we do-
you
okay,
should, you should open
With motion.
and close it by,
Same way,
vote.
okay. Does anyone want to make a motion to now open the public comment portion of the evening?
I'll make a motion to open the public comment portion of the evening.
Thanks, Leslie. And do we have a second?
Second,
Thanks, John. So roll call vote, Leslie,
Yes,
John,
yes.
Paul,
Sure.
Brad,
Yes,
and I am also a yes. So at this time, we'll open it up to public comment. I would just like to remind everyone to please state your name and your address before providing your comments. So I will do my best to look for hands, but is there anybody that would like to speak or ask questions? And if Bill, if I miss anyone, feel free to
Yep.
let me know if you see a hand.
Okay.
If I could speak. My name is Rainer Gutkuhn, 53 Glendale Street. So if you're facing the Mellons, we are the property to the left. And I'm convinced that if that new structure is a single story structure, I wouldn't even see it. I wouldn't see it from the street, and I wouldn't see it from our backyard. If you have seen in the satellite picture, there's a whole bunch of former turkey coops and sheds along that property line. So the only way I could see the roof of that new building is if I'm in the second story of my house or in the attic. So, and from the front of from Glendale Street, I'm not even sure you could see it. I think it would hide behind the main house.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Don't have anybody else there, Madam Chair?
Okay. All right, then. I think at this point, we'll move into I'll defer to you on proper procedure, Bill, if we should move right into our deliberation and close the hearing and public comment at the same time, or if you think we should close comment.
Well, I wouldn't close
First.
the public hearing, and here's why. If you close the public hearing, no new information can be entered, right? And if I'm a little perplexed a little bit about, I think maybe I miscommunicated this to Mr. Mallon but you do understand, I think that if the board was provided a graphic that depicted they've given you their concerns, that's one of the things they're asking for. I mean, you get that. I mean, that.
Well, I just, we all met, we sat at a table, the building commissioner was there, everybody was there, you were there.
Yeah.
And I took direction and I just followed with it, and that's what I did. And I didn't think it was, I didn't know there was other stuff that I would need to provide. If that was the case, I maybe could have got a 3D dimensional
Yeah, I think that's
drawing of that.
I think when you look on the application and what was.
Yeah, again, Bill, I just followed everybody's lead, that's all.
That's fine. I understand that. I'm just trying to move this forward at a successful resolution. But what I'm saying is that closing the hearing, if the board is not sure they want to do it, that might.
It sounds like they want a picture, right? You want
Yeah,
a
so
three-dimensional
what-
picture, or do you want full-blown architectural drawings?
I think the board's here, they can give you exactly what they'd want, but the kind of stuff that the board usually sees, as Mr. Schultz had said earlier, it gives them an idea of what they're being asked to approve. Because the board is ultimately responsible, for their decision, and I'm certain you can understand this, particularly in your profession, you recognize this. And it's great that your neighbors are supportive of this. But what I'm thinking, my inclination to advise the board, if there would be to have you, we could either continue it or however they want to do it. But ultimately, where they're provided a graphic that is to their, so they have a general idea. Right now, they really don't have an idea. And I just wanted to make sure I was clear about that, because I'm trying to be
Right.
helpful all around.
What do you want? What can I get you then?
Well, Bill, would it make sense if we closed the public comment period now, but then moved to deliberation so we could discuss each of those criteria and use that discussion to identify it, if whether or not there's any other information that may be helpful, or if we feel we have enough to make findings on
Yes,
some of the
yes.
other.
Yes, you could do
issues.
that. And to be clear, what I was saying is, if you close the public hearing, we don't, that's for the new, we can't, and we go right into deliberations, not public comment. That's, so you can close public comment, you can open it back up if you want, if you haven't closed the hearing.
I see. Oh,
I
so we could also
maybe
just leave it
misunderstood. Right.
open and close both at the same time
Just
later on.
Yeah, you could, you could, you could, if you want to close the public hearing now, that's fine. I mean, the public comment. Public hearing, we don't want to close, right, until you're right.
Right. Okay. All right, well, I think we can safely close public comment at this point. It sounds like if we needed to, we can reopen it. So do we have a motion to close the comment, and then we can move into our deliberations and run through each of these criteria?
Okay, and make a proposal. Propose that we close the public comment portion of the meeting.
Thanks, Leslie. In a second.
Second,
Thanks, John. And then the roll call vote, Leslie,
Yes.
John,
yes.
Paul,
Or
Brad,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So moving into the deliberations, just so everyone on here knows, this is outlined in the staff report, but in order to approve the special permit, the zoning board needs to make a finding that the adverse effects of the proposed use will not outweigh its beneficial impacts to the town or neighborhood in view of the characteristics of the site and of the proposal in relation to that site. And that determination must consider each of the following. So the social, economic, or community needs served by the proposal, traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading, the adequacy of utilities and other public services, neighborhood character and social structures, impacts on the natural environment, and then potential fiscal impact, including impact on town services, tax-based employment. Bill, do you mind pulling that section of the staff report up, and then maybe we could look at those criteria as a board? And I just welcome conversation from the board. So most of the conversation that we've heard this evening really is in relation to item number 4, the neighborhood character and social structures. Were there any?
I have something to say,
Yeah.
something sort of in general about Glendale Street. Glendale Street has 3 different zoning districts in it. From Summer Street to Acton Street, Route 27, it's business zoned. From Acton Street, most of the 2/3 of the way up to Colbert Street, and there's another side street, which I'm not sure if it has a name. I don't know if that's Lewis Street or if there's a name to that at all. It's I'm not even sure that's an approved town road. But up to that point, it's general residential. And then from Colbert Street down to the end, it's S2. And of the S2 residents, there are 15 of them. And none of them are conforming to the S2 standards in terms of frontage. 3 of the 15 only make the S2 for lot size of 20,000 square feet or larger. And 4 of the 15 only are conforming to the lot width. So when this part of Glendale Street was given the S2 designation, I'm not sure what people were thinking. If it was an S1, you would pick up about 3 or 4 more of the 15 properties. If 55 Glendale Street were 4 lots down, we wouldn't even be in this conversation because it would be in general residential and you could have 40% coverage. So trying to decide on what to do with the various coverages here, I think is something that we need to pass and try to understand, because this isn't going to be the only time that this is going to happen. I just think that by saying that, well, other properties have, the boards in the past have allowed other properties to, go past the 15, to 25 or 30% in an S2 area, I think is not the right answer, is to say that, to just let everybody, because one person did it or 2 people were given it, that everybody should, suddenly have floodgates open. I think it's something that we should look at. This property in 2021 was, the variance by this board was a unanimous ruling, and you allowed a 17.97% coverage. And now the person is looking to go to 56% coverage, 56% increase of coverage, whereas the percentage of the coverage that the board approved with the variance was a 28% increase in coverage. So that's basically doubling the size of the nonconformity from what was approved with the variance 2 years ago.
Sure, Brad, you're right. If I could just clarify that, but that in defense of the applicant, that was at town staff suggestion, because at the time a variance was going to be the appropriate mechanism to make the improvement, and
Right.
The original plans were more similar to what you're seeing now than
Sure.
what we had recommended. We recommended they could go up and reduce reduce the level of nonconformity required. So that was kind of the reason for that. So I have to be in full disclosure for that. That was at staff's urging at the time.
Yeah, well, I was looking at before. I mean, the ruling on the variance, and there was 25-foot setbacks that was asked for on both sides of the as side setbacks, which only needed to be 15, which is what they're going for now. So I don't understand what the variance, making it slightly smaller would have changed anything, because it didn't make their proposal didn't make it any more non-conforming. I mean, it comes very close. The structure comes very close as is. In fact, if one of the, like what Paul suggested, if one of the buildings were removed, one of the outbuildings were removed, that property would be darn near, it would be in the 15% range. So I think trying to decide on what is the number that we want to allow should not be based on just some random, somebody else already has one that's that way.
Brad,
Yeah.
if I'm looking at this, it looks like they're just adding 8% more to the already existing non-conforming coverage, going from 15 to 23.
That's correct.
So if we just say not to exceed an additional 8%, would that work for everybody? I'm just wondering if that would help.
Well, John, I like your thought. However, is in my mind, it's still a blank check, because we
Right.
don't know what he's actually going to end up building, because he hasn't committed to any particular design.
I did. Single story.
And
Family.
and why did we suddenly go from, one size to all of a sudden doubling the size? I mean, has there been
It's one story.
has there been a need? Has there been a sudden need and a sudden change in circumstances where you need twice the size?
Yeah, I agree with you,
Yeah.
Brad. That's a peculiarity. And why he didn't act on it, he said he had financial issues or something. but to make a bigger building doesn't sound to me like it's a financial issue.
It is, it's one story, not two.
And so, Bill, could you mute the people that are not involved in the board discussion?
Oh, jeez.
And Bill, should we be comparing this to the prior request, or are we obligated to review this in isolation?
Is it a net new or do we? That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, in my opinion, there's a couple of issues here, and if they're clarified by discussing what had happened earlier, I can understand. It was a fairly recent decision. On the other hand, the boards, needs what they need to feel comfortable with this. I don't think it's unreasonable to have a drawing by any stretch of imagination. But again, I go back to this argument. You heard me make this a while ago when Paul and I were discussing about the need to kind of address these grossly undersized lots. And Brad brought that up earlier. You're talking a lot that's less than 50% the size that's required for that district. Why is it in the town's interest to, do that in the first place, but we did it. And are you trying to make is the house actually making more conforming to the neighborhood by increasing the size that would normally be found in a full size lot there, so that it's a tough one. But proportionately, if you go proportionately, because and you're saying 15% of a 20,000 square foot lot, that's one thing. But if 15% of an 8,000 square foot lot is completely different. So it's something we have to address. My opinion is whatever the board thinks they need, they should have. I don't think it's unreasonable at all for the elevations that should have been probably provided. However, in my thinking, I go back to the argument I probably made this half dozen times over the last few years, where this was an error in zoning overlay, and to me, some of the dimensional requirements may not be in the town's best interest to maintain in certain circumstances where the board hasn't had an opportunity to review the facts. This is a tough one because there's no reason that a 9,200 square foot lot should be rezoned to have a 20,000 square foot minimum. But we'll have to come up with something. Brad and I are going to work that one out with the but we have to come up with an overlay or something. But I totally sympathize with the board. I sympathize with the applicant on this. This is a
Hey, Bill, could it possibly be worded as not to exceed 8% as presented, single story, must match the existing structure in appearance?
Sure.
With the non-attachment, to the foundation.
Well, as I understood it, we're talking about I think Mr. Mallon had mentioned, the connection is going to be a 4-season connection.
Right. But it's going to have a whole new foundation, separate foundation.
Yeah, exactly. And that will have to be whatever if there's a building commissioner has, I'm sure they have requirements for that are going to, may come up, but I think that's totally reasonable. And if you want to say aesthetically,
match the existing structure.
Have when you do that, you're going to need the drawings anyway for the builders. Bring it in and just run it by the board. That would, to me, was like a win-win. But I understand that. But I think to answer your question, John, yes, in my opinion, it's totally reasonable.
So, John, are you thinking about coming up to a vote tonight, or are you going to suggest that he supplies this information before we have a vote.
That's the question I was suggesting a vote, but Bill was saying he's still gonna have to present his plans anyway. Could we vote pending the final presentation? And say approved pending the final presentation?
Well, I have thoughts on that, but this is Paige's meeting, so I don't want to, I'm just asking the dumb questions
Yeah,
today.
yeah. So
Yeah,
as a Paul, yes, I was looking for kind of a vote.
And I think we heard from Bill earlier, we could set the condition and sort of approve it subject to getting our final approval of the elevations, which I think is where you were going, John.
Right.
I would be interested in hearing if any of the other board members are open to that. Personally, I would be fine with some version of what John just presented. If we also included in the condition that the dwelling would not include plumbing. Or
My
kitchen
thought,
space.
if I can throw in my 2 cents here, Paige, is not to finalize the vote until we see what he comes up with. Because if we finalize the vote now, then how do you approve or disprove whatever he comes up with?
Well, that we do, Paul, that's a good question. I do this frequently with the planning board. I've never done it with this board. Yeah, well, there's 2 ways to do that. Often there's things we don't know when an approval's made, that are critical to the project. And sometimes we will bring it back to the board for okay, and that was kind of this first situation I had mentioned. And if they need to change something, they change something. Other times we'll leave it as staff discretion. Something like aesthetics, I would not leave to staff discretion. I would, but there may be stuff like, for example, a plumbing connection or something like we've done that where we say, okay, you got to bring it in, a town engineer has to be okay, or whatever the case may be. If I think, given we have everything, the board could continue this and just say to a date and just ask Mr. Mallon to give him a clear. I think if he had understood, basically what you'd want to see on it, I can bring up some of the other examples that certainly simplifies it, and that's entirely reasonable in my opinion.
We did not, I don't believe, go through the 6 findings,
The considerations, right?
considerations.
No, we did not. So that would be, at vote time. If you want me to pull them back up, Leslie?
They're
Well,
still on the
They're still
screen,
in
aren't
front,
they?
Bill.
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
Yeah.
What am I sharing?
What you're sharing.
Oh,
I have a couple more questions or should I say concerns. It does seem like the proposal of the 738 or whatever it is square feet is basically practically doubling the size of the footprint existing house. And I don't know if a 9,200 square foot lot is it appropriate to double the size of a house that's been on there since 1880? Is one concern. And the other question I had for the board is does it matter if they put plumbing out in the addition? I mean, why would that ever be a concern?
typically it wouldn't, in my experience. The kitchen would be.
Sure. Because that would make it like
An
another
ADU.
unit. But a bathroom? A bathroom, it seems to me that it would be something that you'd want to put in there, would be a bathroom. That's all.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I'm fine with that, Brad. I was just thinking, trying to ensure it wasn't necessarily going to become an after the fact, function more as an after the fact accessory standalone unit.
Right.
But
Yeah,
Wait,
that's why
determine
I'd really like to see plans for this. Because that's the square footage, just giving a random square footage. And say, yeah, we're good with this coverage, is, I don't know. It seems to me that we haven't done that before. We've always had some sort of plans and, at least some, other than a square box, we've often had, a plan where there was a perspective drawing and there was also, a floor plan. And we don't have either of those here. So I think that maybe it's a little premature to try to make a decision on this without that. So I would propose to continue this and wait for that information.
With the board, I think, judging from the conversation with Mr. Mallon, I think if the board would like to see that, it would be fair on the board's part to, provide a level of comfort with the general concept so that he was not forced to create all new plans and floor plans, everything, and everybody, that it was out of the question before we started. Is that I think that would be, to be fair, but I'll leave the board to determine that. But I would like to, voice that concern.
And is it really such a hardship to butt the new part of the house up to the old part? I mean,
He was talking about saving a roof. And my experience in the past is that makes it more expensive to save odds and ends from earlier structures. I've gone through a few of these and it's pretty tedious to try to save little pieces, but that's his decision.
yeah. Well, it just seems as though if the house were brought, like the addition were brought right up to the house, that would save a lot of square footage.
Probably would, yeah.
There's
So
also
Paige,
the
just
shape of
as
okay.
a final
Okay.
thought here from the peanut gallery is, I think there's too many loose ends to make a vote and then hope we get the loose ends clarified.
Mhm. Yeah, it sounds like I've heard two people in favor of wanting to continue and clarify some of these. Leslie or John, do you feel strongly one way or another? What are your thoughts on that? I'm fine. I think,
I'm fine with extending rather than,
yeah.
if we vote tonight, it sounds like it wouldn't pass anyway at this point. So give them a chance and present. What my question was, earlier in the meeting, we said we would accept a hand-drawn plan rather than a full-scale architectural drawing. Is that still the case, or?
I mean, I think that would be fine. If there's a perspective drawing that shows, more or less what we're looking at, especially if you could look at it from a couple different sides of the house.
Yeah.
That would be good. And a floor plan you can draw that too by hand.
Well, that sounds pretty easy. He's just drawing a line down the middle.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
Well, if that's the case, I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, maybe
He's probably drawing it while we're talking.
might want to change his mind and put a bathroom in, but it's a small bathroom or a half bath or something like that.
And
I mean, I know if I was going to do something like that, I would be putting a bathroom in.
To go with that, John, it would be good to get the final proposed size of the structure left, right, front, and back. So we can look at the setbacks and whatever, because that's what we're going to end up approving or not.
Yep. So just to clarify, in addition to what you just noted, Paul, I think we'd be looking for a floor plan that specified uses and hand-drawn or not hand-drawn elevations, but elevations of some sort as well.
Yeah. Now, just as a random thought here, Leslie had asked earlier that we think about those 6 conditions or 6, whatever the technical word is for them. That Bill likes to point at us. We never really reflected on them because we need to, I think, confirm that there are sticking points on 1 or 2 or whatever of them so that we can dispense with this case if and when we meet again. Is that right, Paige? Does that make sense?
Sure, that makes sense. So are you suggesting that we run through them, the other ones now, just to make sure there's no other gaps that we've identified?
I mean, it's between you and Leslie. She's the one that brought the question up. I'm just bringing it back up because we never really closed it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think that we should look at them.
Okay, you want
Uh,
to pull them up?
Please.
Yeah, thanks, Bill. And not to put anyone on the spot, but if someone wants to provide their preliminary thoughts on the other items other than number 4, or any other information gaps they see, that'd be helpful.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Right.
Social, economic. communities.
For me, Paige, the only one I'm seeing is the number 4. I don't see any impacts for the other.
Well, again, if they
5.
cut down the tree, I'd like a new tree planted. But that was agreed upon before. But
That's a
so,
number 5, right, Leslie?
Oh, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
that was a variance, not a special permit.
oh, well. Number 1, when you guys are redoing the rules, I wish you'd get rid of number 1. It seems ridiculous to even think about.
It's this state statute. This isn't us.
Oh, I don't know what they were thinking, but okay. Traffic flow and safety, including parking. Even because the shed is there, I don't think that this addition makes it any harder to get fire equipment back there, particularly unless it's the garage on fire.
Yeah, I did. This was routed to the fire chief and no comments. They didn't have any comments on it.
Yeah.
They just bring their marshmallows.
Right. Well, I called the other day and nobody answered, so
There
don't
you
get
go.
me
You were out.
started. Adequacy of utilities. No, I think it would still be the same. Neighborhood character and social structures. I think that the neighborhood is already quite varied in its architectural styles.
Well, if you're in the S2 area, it's different than when you get four lots down to the general residential. That's for sure. So I don't know when you say the neighborhood, if you're looking at the whole street, then yes, then that's just, you've got something of everything there.
Yeah. Impact on the natural environment. I'm just thinking about the old tree.
Well, besides the old tree, it's the footprint.
Yeah.
The footprint, this is another one. I can't remember what property it was, but the footprint is more appropriate for general residence, which is 3 houses down, I guess. That's probably where one of the miscalculations happened.
Well, I think there you're allowed what, 40%?
40.
40 for general residents?
Yeah, 40.
Yeah.
No, that much less lawn mowing. That's what I think. Potential fiscal impact. I don't see the number 6 as any issue.
Oh, it's actually a good thing.
I know it's
For
gonna
the
raise
town.
the
Gonna
taxes.
increase the town taxes, town tax base. New growth.
Wow.
So it sounds like the sticking point really is just number 4 in terms of what we're looking for additional information.
I mean, was the idea of the percentage of coverage of the buildings on a lot, was that an environmental impact? I mean, when it was originally put in, an environmental impact, or was that just a outing?
going back before
I
any of our
see.
memories.
I don't know.
Yeah,
I know other towns, they wanted to keep the open space under control rather than jamming everything up. But I don't know what Maynard's rules were because these numbers have been in here for a long time.
So it sounds like most of the members or all of the members at this point are in support of seeing if the applicant is willing to continue in order to provide time to give us that additional information, the elevation and floor plans and uses. So Bill, I don't know if, let's see, if you could unmute the applicant,
I
but
think I
it'd
can.
be great if we could see if he's amenable to that. It sounds like a vote, if we needed to make one today, would not necessarily be
Mr. Mallon, can you unmute?
doable.
Yep, right here.
There he is. Okay, good.
And Mr. Mallon, I don't know how much of that you're listening to, but I think the board is requesting that you're willing to continue to a future meeting in order to provide additional time to prepare that floor plan that shows the uses and elevation drawings. Is that something that would work with your timeline?
Yeah, I just gotta get a hold of the designer. I don't know how busy he is. It's the holiday, so this could get pushed out till maybe late January, February. I don't know. I was thinking maybe I'll do the same thing what we did before. Have a 3-dimensional drawing showing the uses, which is just going to be living space and a bedroom for my daughter or son, whoever wants it. No plumbing, single story, and how it's going to connect to the house. And that should be, and you'll see the floor plan. Pretty straightforward. And how it connects to the house, it's pretty straightforward. You'll see it. And unfortunately, the tree, I can't save the tree. I'm sorry.
Oh, I know.
It's all hauled out. It's gonna fall down eventually. I probably should take it down because it's a hazard, actually. You know, I remember I should sent you a picture with the pole, the rake going through the middle of it.
Oh, no, I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
I
Just
can
be sure to
resend it.
replant with something native.
Oh, we definitely
thought.
will. I definitely want a tree for shade. That's for sure. I mean, we have a ton of them in the back anyways, but we'll plant something more fancy.
Well, what do you think would be a realistic date for the board to continue to, Mr. Mallon? Would
I have to
Like
I have to
January?
reach out to Mr. Chapman, so I don't know.
Well, here's what I would recommend then. We can continue to say January 22nd, or you could do it to whatever the board's pleasure is if they want to go in December. But
Yeah, I can't flip that quick.
yeah, I wouldn't think
I gotta
so.
reach out to him and I mean, he has all my dimensions of my house on file, so
Yeah,
we could do
but-
it, but it's just that, it's the holidays now.
My point is, if the board continued to a date certain and for whatever reason it wasn't ready because of this, I'm sure the board would understand and you would just request to be continued to the next month. But at least this way, you don't have to advertise again or anything. You just say we're going to look at it again on January 22nd or whatever the board chooses. Would that be
Yeah,
okay?
I think probably the end of January would be more realistic. If I can get that drawing to you quicker, I'll send it over to you.
Well, it's up to you. Yeah.
But I definitely, yeah, I just wish I just need time to talk to him. I know he's gonna do my yeah, he'll put a 3D one together. Is there anything more do you want to see than that? I mean, there's no cellar. It's all crawl space. It's going to have the same siding, basically it's going to look the same as the 2-story one. It's just going to be 1 story because it's cheaper to build.
Paul, did I forget something that you mentioned? Or did you mention something else in addition to
Oh.
the floor plan and elevations?
Yeah, I was rattling along with algebra. I said the X by Y by Z, left, right, front, back. And, just to show the setbacks, because that's where Brad had pointed out that this is a significantly larger footprint than the previous one. And then I
Yeah.
understood from John that it might not be the final size that they end up with. And I'd like to know what the target final size is that he's going
Right.
forward with.
You know, and I'm not gonna exceed any setbacks that you see on that, on that plan that you have. If anything, it's gonna be smaller.
Well, that's my
And
point.
he's gonna help me try to get a ballpark price that's more you know, I'm not a contractor. I'm not trying to build, you know, have somebody, rent it out or anything. I'm not gonna have any plumbing. I have 2 bathrooms already, so I'm all set there. We're just looking for living space in the bathroom, but anyways, yeah, I mean, the setbacks, they're on the plan right there.
Yeah, but what I'm
And,
asking.
I don't see
my
how,
thought-
if you want me to do a 3-dimensional showing setbacks,
No,
you're just
what-
gonna see that, you're gonna see my footprint. And that's basically it. It's
Yeah,
gonna be
on that-
smaller than what's shown, and shame on me, I should have just kind of stuck with what I needed, but again, it was recommended that I go bigger just in case. As long as I kept the setbacks to the sides and the back, so.
Yeah.
I was just kind of, again, I was just kind of following the lead of the advice I was given, and we were trying to push us through to get this in the queue. So I just maybe should have, next time I know.
Yeah, well, the point is, besides the
I can sh-
setbacks, it's the measurements of how big the building addition will be. And
Yeah,
to allay our fears that this is an
it's
addition,
probably gonna be 22 by 28.
well, check that out.
And in the
Because,
box, I
well-
have 26 by 28.
So
Anyway, I probably, again, I mean.
one of the concerns that you have heard us voice is whether or not this becomes an accessory dwelling unit as opposed to an addition on the property.
Right, which it
having
can't
those
be,
measurements-
because that's in the S2, you're not supposed to have that type of another dwelling in there, it's only a single family.
I understand, but to
Yeah.
allay our concerns, to have the measurements and how it is put together to show
Right.
that it is an addition rather than
So
an additional
you keep
unit.
saying that, so if I give you a 3-dimensional showing the dimensions, you know, the length, width, and the height, is that good enough, or are you looking for a full set now?
No, I don't need a full set. I know
The
architects. are very
3-dimensional
expensive.
drawing, like you've seen on the other one, would be okay.
I believe so, as
Okay,
as
that's
long as-
exactly what I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's gonna show, it'll probably have the inside, it's gonna be kind of neat, because you're gonna be able to walk in and see the first floor. The only floor, the living space and the bedroom, and that's it.
All right,
So that's what you're gonna get for like a section cut.
So if you submit those to us or submit them to Bill, Bill can get them to us, and then we can tell Bill if we think it's good enough.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you can add to it if you needed to, right?
And it'll, Mr. Chapman will show you exactly how it's gonna tie in, so.
There you go.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
mean,
gonna be,
the
it's not gonna be anything
elevations-
weird, it's gonna actually look good.
Yeah, I mean, it shouldn't be that, he should be familiar with what, for an elevation, you can provide so the board can just look at it and say,
I mean, it's
Okay.
flat there. I'm very fortunate, right around the house where I'm putting the addition, I actually staked it out just so
Great.
neighbors could take a look at it, and it's flat, so. And nothing, I don't have to, it's with the frost walls and everything, I'm not gonna have to take out a lot of fill either, which is nice. It's gonna work out, everything's just talking to all the contractors, this is my best case scenario.
so I have sort of a side question here. I'm curious, because one of the things that came up was this comment that you're putting it in a crawl space.
Yep.
Is it that much more difficult to drop in a basement?
Wow,
Give
I
you all
don't
that
either.
storage?
I don't, no, of course, because talking to the contractors, not only the first time, but the second time, I couldn't afford that design that you saw, the 2-story, tying into a stone fieldstone foundation and tying into the roof. And also, if I wanted a full basement, I would have to take out so many square yards or cubic yards of fill and get that disposed. And before you know it, I got Jeanson, he gave me a quote of $215,000. And then I got another one from Costello, which was $195. And then I got one from Silva over in Hudson. That was $198. I was like, I can't afford this. Or what, 15 by 15, 2-story? I just kind of dropped the ball and just said, I can't do it.
All right, I
So,
just
so
curious.
now
Thank you.
going to this first floor and having the bedroom and the living space there, it makes sense. It's easy living. And again, it's nothing that's outside the box, but I will show that to you. I'll get those drawings. I just can't guarantee how quick I can get those until I talk to Mr. Chapman.
If the board meets the fourth Monday of every month, would January 22nd be better, or would February 26th be
Oh.
better for you?
I don't know. Again, this is another kind of a mystery thing.
Well,
I
then
have
you
to
have
make the
nothing
phone
to
call
lose
tomorrow.
you would have nothing to lose by going to the January one, and if it's not ready, you just request a continuance. The board's understood this, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, sure. Again, I'm just a homeowner trying to provide something for the family. That's it. And again, like you pointed out, you're gonna get some taxes, an extra bedroom and more living space. And yeah, it's just like for that the dimension that I'm looking for, 28 across is 14 by 22, and the other one it would be also like 13 by 22 with the middle wall there. So it's nothing that's crazy over the top, but it's definitely going to make a big impact on the family. So it's again, there'll be zero plumbing in there. I don't want another bathroom, and I don't need one because I have one upstairs and I have one downstairs. So there's only 5 of us.
Well, thank you,
But
Mr.
yeah, I
Mello.
mean, we'll shoot for the January 22nd, but and I'll keep in contact with Bill and let him know.
Great.
What the status is. If I get it early enough, I'll send it over to him,
Mhm.
and I'll guarantee you'll all be pretty impressed with this drawing.
Thank you, Mr. Mello. We'll plan to continue this to the January 22nd meeting, and if necessary, we could always continue it again, as Bill was saying.
Yeah.
So I think at this point, I'd be looking for a motion just to continue this public hearing to the January 22nd meeting of the ZBA. It would be a remote meeting at 7 p.m.
I'll move that if you wish.
Thanks, Paul. And do we have a second?
No, I'm not kidding. No.
Second,
I heard
Bye.
John.
Yep.
Thanks, John. So roll call votes really quick. Leslie,
Yes.
John,
yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I'm also a yes. So thank you, Mr. Mallon, and everyone else for your time. Feel free to drop off at this point.
Oh my God.
Otherwise, we just have one last vote. I think I'd be entertaining a motion to adjourn at this point.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Thanks, Leslie.
I'll
Second.
second.
Thanks, John. And Leslie, roll call vote.
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Brad,
Yes.
and I am also a yes. So thanks, everyone. I really